Imagine a respected youth club leader, loved by parents, trusted by young students, and known for making educational films. Now, imagine that behind this reputation lived one of the most dangerous predators in Soviet history. This is the shocking story of Anatoly Slivko, a man who used kindness as camouflage and a camera as his tool. Anatoly Slivko was born in 1938 in the Soviet Union. His childhood was unremarkable except for one moment that would twist his thinking for the rest of his life. In 1961, the year he turned 23 years old, Slivko happened to witness a gruesome traffic accident in which a boy in his early teens who was wearing a young pioneer's uniform, Soviet equivalent of the Scouts, was killed. Anatoly was never able or willing to clearly explain why this event affected him so profoundly. The scene sexually excited him. Slivko later said it stayed deeply fixed in his memory, especially the chaos of the moment and the strong smell of gasoline and fire. From that moment, he became obsessed with recreating the moment of unconsciousness he had witnessed, believing it held some strange emotional power over him. This obsession grew quietly for years. Anatoly Slivko began working as a telephone and electrical technician, a job that gave him a stable income and a reputation as a quiet, reliable worker. Outside of his technical work, he gradually became involved in community and youth activities, presenting himself as a devoted mentor who cared deeply about children's development. Within a short time, he founded Chergid, a boys' recreational club, organizing hikes, camping trips, and pioneer-style activities. To parents and local officials, Slivko appeared disciplined, patient, and trustworthy. These jobs and roles placed him in regular contact with adolescents and gave him authority, privacy, and credibility, factors that later allowed his crimes to remain hidden for years. He also developed an interest in filming. Most people thought he was an enthusiastic amateur cinematographer, but the camera wasn't just a hobby. It became part of his private fantasy world. Slivko exploited his position at the children's club he ran to relive the fantasies of this accident. Once or twice a year, he would form a close friendship with a boy usually aged between 13 and 17. The boy would be short for his age and would be wearing the young pioneer's uniform. Slivko would gain the boy's confidence and tell him of an experiment he knew which involved a controlled hanging into unconsciousness to stretch the spine, after which the boy was assured Slivko would revive him. Targeted boys were usually from modest backgrounds who looked up to him and trusted him. He often told them he was conducting scientific experiments or filming staged scenarios for educational purposes. Using these excuses, he would convince them to participate in reenactments of the accident he had seen years earlier. His pattern was chilling but methodical. First, he would arrange private training sessions with a boy. He asked them to put on camp uniforms or costumes so the footage looked like part of the youth club's activities. Then he staged controlled hanging scenarios. Although he claimed these were safe demonstrations meant for his films, he secretly intended to bring the boys to a dangerous point of unconsciousness so he could observe their reactions. Once the boy lost consciousness, Slivko committed acts of sexual abuse and exploitation. He filmed the unconscious victims, positioning their bodies in degrading ways for his own sexual gratification. In 36 known cases, Slivko revived the boys afterward. He warned them to remain silent, and the victims returned to their lives unaware of how close they had come to death. Across the years, Slivko murdered at least 7 boys, though investigators believe the number could be higher. His victims either lost consciousness during these staged hangings or were harmed in ways that ensured they could not be revived. To cover up his crimes, he disposed of the bodies through dismembering. He poured gasoline and set the remains on fire to remind himself of the traffic accident which sparked his arousal, and buried them in remote forested areas. He usually kept the victim's shoes as a memento. He filmed many of his staged experiments, which later became critical evidence during his arrest. All of this was done secretly, while he continued running his youth club as if nothing had happened. Despite the disturbing fantasies developing in secret, Anatoly Slivko appeared outwardly to live a conventional family life. He married in the early 1960s and had 2 sons with his wife. To neighbors and colleagues, he seemed like a quiet, disciplined family man devoted to work and community activities. However, the marriage was deeply troubled. His wife later reported that Slivko showed little normal sexual interest, struggled with intimacy, and displayed behaviors she could not understand or explain. Over time, she sensed something was profoundly wrong, though she did not initially grasp the nature of his obsession. The emotional distance, secrecy, and lack of a healthy marital relationship created a household where Slivko's private compulsions went unnoticed for years, allowing him to maintain a double life as both a family man and a trusted youth mentor while hiding his crimes. Even when boys reported strange experiences or missing club members, his reputation worked like a shield. Everything changed in 1985 when one of the boys who survived a staged scenario finally came forward with details that alarmed authorities. Investigators reopened old missing child cases linked to Slivko's club. Slivko was arrested on the 28th of December 1985. Inside his youth club, authorities later discovered a room he used as a private photo and film development space. Behind its door, chillingly, was the word "kill" scrawled, a grim hint at what lay within. In that room, police found boxes of photographs and films showing how Slivko staged his experiments and the boys he rendered unconscious. These images, combined with piles of diaries and even shoes he kept as macabre trophies, became critical evidence linking him to multiple deaths and abuses spanning over 2 decades. The turning point in the investigation came when Tamara Langieva, a local prosecutor, began methodically questioning the disappearance of 13-year-old Sergei Pavlov and learned that many boys from the club had taken part in hangings and other experiments that Slivko claimed were educational. Her persistence unlocked witness accounts and led police directly to the club records and the horrifying collection in that photo room, helping bring Slivko's crimes to light after years of deception. In 1986, a Soviet court found him guilty of multiple murders and sentenced him to death, which was the maximum punishment under Soviet law at the time. On the 16th of September 1989, he was executed by firing squad in a prison in Novocherkassk. Slivko's case remains one of the most chilling examples of how a respected community figure can hide a dangerous double life. His story also pushed Soviet authorities to improve oversight in youth organizations and tighten rules around children's safety. This case is disturbing not only because of what happened, but because of how long it went unnoticed. It reminds us that danger does not always come from strangers who look frightening. Sometimes it comes from people who appear helpful, trusted, and respected. For parents, the most important lesson is awareness. Pay attention to sudden changes in your child's behavior, mood, or routines. Listen carefully when children talk, even if what they say sounds confusing or uncomfortable. Create a home where children feel safe speaking without fear of punishment or disbelief. Teach them that no adult has the right to make them feel afraid, confused, or ashamed. Protection begins with trust, communication, and presence. Sometimes listening can save a life.